case. But if it's not the case, then again, we won't really know anything until until either both TNA and Destination America or one of them comes out and confirms, yes, what you're hearing is true, or what you've been hearing is not true. I mean, if TNA does finally come out and say, look, okay, the truth is, we are probably going to be leaving Destination America after October, September, because, we're not doing so well, then yeah, you could pretty much say TNA is on on life support, if you will. But I look at it this way: whether TNA and Destination America are going to part ways in September, October. Again, we won't really know anything until either both sides come out and say something, confirming it or denying it. So that's the way I look at it. And sometimes I think, honestly, people want, people at Destination America and TNA, this is all honest truth. I think sometimes, companies do this, and even the channels, the networks that might carry them do this. Because even though they might, make good business decisions like what Destination America made with Ring of Honor, I think in the long run, it's more like sometimes they're desperate for something. I mean, why would you make Ring of Honor the lead into TNA? When if you're trying to position Ring of Honor as the potential replacement, Ring of Honor should be the one that gets led into by TNA and not the other way around, unless you still want TNA around and you're just probably throwing all this information out to get attention on the TNA product on your cable channel so that people be like, okay, let's see what's going on, and Sometimes I think that might be part of what this is, that maybe all this is nothing but rumors and they're just doing this to get attention onto TNA so that at least TNA will finally, live up to the end of the bargain and they can keep them around. I'm just saying. And maybe Destination America wants to make Wednesday nights the wrestling, make it the Mecca wrestling capital of the week. Who knows? Maybe that's why they're doing it. I couldn't really say. I mean, let's not forget, historically, TNA did start out on Wednesday nights, so it's not really uncommon for them to be on Wednesday nights again. And look how it helped them out. Just saying. And it happened, ironically, it happened, when you think about it, 13 years ago to I think the time it's happening now. Just saying. The only difference is you didn't have to pay $9.99 for it. And you didn't have a lead-in. You didn't have another wrestling promotion leading you in. Just saying. So it might work. Maybe that's what Destination America is looking at. Maybe they're looking historically at the fact that TNA made a name for themselves on Wednesday nights. And that Wednesday nights is more open for wrestling than any other night. With the exception of Monday nights, that is. Basically Monday and Wednesday are the best nights for wrestling. I don't know. So, with that said, though, let's take a look at it this way. If TNA is going to remain on Destination America, then, like I said, Destination America is going to use Wednesday nights to be the, Mecca wrestling capital of the week. Be the Mecca wrestling destination for wrestling fans of the week. Not just Monday night because of Raw, but now you can have a variety on Wednesday nights. Like, okay, you're going to have 3 hours on Destination America, but they're going to be 2 different promotions. You're going to have El Rey giving you Lucha Underground. You've got the WWE Network giving you NXT almost at any time when you think about it. Except for the TakeOver specials. And then you look at the possibility that you got one, I guess, territorial or local promotion getting some kind of a summer deal with the formerly TV Guide Network this year or something like that. You got the possibility of Global Force Wrestling landing somewhere as well. I guess what Jeff Jarrett said is true. The boom is happening. We just don't see it. Anyway, though, But if that is the case, then great. That's great for Destination America to want to basically make Wednesday nights the destination for wrestling fans overall, and at least have something that's going to combat El Rey's Lucha Underground and the WWE Network's NXT. Kind of like, as some people say, the 1-2 punch. However, let's look at it from this side. If TNA doesn't get renewed, if they're not going to stay on Destination America, where do they head next? And you might say, well, after Destination America, who'd want to take them? A lot of people have said Destination America was a, last-ditch attempt and effort to get on national broadcast, to stay on national cable. It was a last-ditch effort. They did what they had to do signed the contracts they had to sign, in a way, and off to the races they went, probably forgetting or not realizing that part of the deal with Destination America was they gave Destination America pretty much an out clause if they didn't perform well. It's basically like saying, hey, we're going to give you a 90-day trial with this for free, and if you don't like it, you don't have to take it. It's like, what company does that? What company does that? And I think Jeff and a lot of people, and even the Wrestling News Source podcast said this best. If we're TNA and we want to have it on, and we want to we want to remain on national broadcast, national cable broadcast, and we want that network to be our network on our own. We don't want no one to be a lead-in, or we don't want to us. We don't want any, and we don't want to be a lead-in to anybody else. What happened to those contracts that not those exclusive, non-exclusive, whatever they call, exquisites, whatever the name, contracts that pretty much says that part of the deal with us as a wrestling company is whatever cable company you are, you can't bring another network on us. You can't do that. I mean, take a look at historically all the networks that have been around, all the cable channels, okay, that have carried wrestling. When Turner had WCW, NWA, WCW, did part of that agreement with WCW allow Turner to bring ECW or Smoky Mountain Wrestling, as crazy as that sounds, ECW, USWA, whatever, onto their network? No. The deal was, yeah, Turner owned WCW for a while, but the part of the deal between, Turner did own WCW later on in the late 80s, early 90s, but even before then, the deal was you can't allow, and I think this was after the whole Black Saturday deal, the whole Black Saturday night deal, that after that flopped and everything went back to, WCW, NWA, Georgia Championship Wrestling, the deal was basically, we're your only wrestling exclusive programming, and that's it. And, Turner made sure of that. Even after, Time Warner and AOL bought out WCW from Turner, or basically took over ownership of WCW, basically, the deal was you can't bring anybody else on here because we're on here. Same with WWE. WWE, with USA and even with Spike TV when they were on there, had that exclusive deal. You can't bring anybody else on this network as long as we're here. And even the AWA and the Global Force and Global, what was it? The GWF, the Global Wrestling Federation, the AWA, the Global Wrestling Federation, they all had similar deals with ESPN. So, and even the USWA for their short term had a deal with ESPN. So the thing was basically you couldn't bring another promotion because, pretty much they'd be going against the agreement, the deal that we've made with you, and we could basically take you to court for it. Even ECW, when they were on TNN, when they were the Nashville network, said, hey, as long as we're a part of your programming, you can't bring anybody else on. Did TNN live up to that? No. They didn't. Because they brought WWE on. And basically the contract for ECW was, hey, let's just use you as guinea pigs. See what happens. So, There you go. But the point is, and the same with TNA, even when they began, okay? When TNA was on Fox Sports 1, that was an exclusive deal, saying, hey, you can't have any of the wrestling program on here besides us. When they were on Spike TV, when they first began, for the time they were there, they had that same kind of deal. But did they live up to it? No. But, not live up to it. But does Destination America live up to that? No. Because they're basically saying, hey, look, we're going to make this a wrestling program, a wrestling destination for America, and we're going to add as many promotions as we have to. And that's one thing out of desperation TNA did not notice or did not take into consideration. Oh, we got to make sure this is our home cable channel, our home network. Let's put in this clause saying you can't bring anybody else on. But out of desperation, they didn't acknowledge that. They didn't realize they had to make that kind of deal that they had made with Viacom and Spike TV previously. And now there's a situation to where, for the foreseeable future, and if not more so, they're going to have to share the same night and the same channel with a rival promotion. Now, a lot of people could say that the TNA officials can play it up and say, oh, we're happy about this, But deep down, and I agree with this, deep down they are pissed as hell. Dixie Carter could play. I mean, come on, honestly, Dixie. You're going to play up and say, oh, welcome our age. Welcome to the family. Bob Ryder, you're going to do the same thing? Welcome to the neighborhood. Hey, heck no. You don't really feel that way, do you? Because deep down I know, and any fan watching this knows, you are pissed off as hell at the fact that you got to share the same night and channel with a rival promotion. A promotion that pretty much people say is better than yours. A promotion that, like I said in my last video, took pretty much a lot of your homegrown talent. Jay Lethal, AJ Styles, Bad Influence, Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, in a sense have Samoa Joe, but not really. I mean, come on, guys. Seriously. Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley shows up there. I mean, come on, guys. Seriously. You're happy about this? I wouldn't be. It'd be like if my company was split in half. Okay, it'd be like if my company was side by side with Target, and on the other side was Kmart or Toys R Us. Do you think we'd be happy? Happy with a Kmart or a Target or Toys R Us being side by side with us, knowing they could take away our business? No, we wouldn't be. Especially with Target. Nothing against Target. They're a good company, and everything. But it'd be like if Target was side by side with us. They have the same kind of structure almost. They're basically a supercenter. They got a grocery section. They got a general merchandise section. Everything. Do you think we would be happy about that? No, we wouldn't. We would not be happy because basically they'd be taking away our business. They'd be taking away our customers. And we wouldn't like that. It just, we wouldn't like that, And, we're not going to come out and say, oh, welcome to the neighborhood, Target. Or welcome to the neighborhood. Glad to have you aboard. We wouldn't do that. And it's the same thing if Walmart was built right next to Target. Do you think they'd be happy? No. The truth is, deep down, Dixie Carter, Bob Ryder, and anybody else that's trying to play this up as it's being a good thing, deep down you guys are pissed. Just admit it. Now, as far as what the future could hold afterwards, with the Destination America lets them go, which a lot of people are pretty much pointing at the direction of being reality, what other options does TNA have? Well, TNA doesn't really have many options because not many networks might want to pick them up. Many cable channels may not want to pick them up. But there are other options. And the options that TNA has, believe it or not, don't have to just rely on cable network. No. The reality is they have options in what is known as streaming. I mean, there's word going around that the Slammiversary event is not going to be pay-per-view this year. It's going to be on the Flips app streaming service. Yeah, the Flip app streaming service. Go figure, right? So they basically go from having a pay-per-view every year for Slammiversary, celebrating their birthday, the day of their birth, or the day of their creation, and now all of a sudden that's going to be placed on a streaming service. Now, that to them might be a good thing because it'll save them money, but not a lot of people have had success with streaming. You know, you take a look at the WWE Network, it's had its problems, especially with live events. So I look at, TNA, TNA, here's my advice to you. If you're going to put Slammiversary on this streaming service called Flips app, then take advantage of it and start exploring the avenues of streaming. There's a lot of streaming services, Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, Vimeo, that are now broadcasting, not necessarily live, but they are now airing and broadcasting on their streaming service original programming. There's original programming for Amazon Prime service, there's original programming for Hulu Plus, and Netflix has original programming, so does Vimeo. So you might say to yourself, so I know some of you TNA fans will be like, well, what would that do for TNA? Well, if TNA is going to go in this direction for Slammiversary this year, then my honest opinion is they start exploring the streaming avenue for possible distribution, easy for me to say, distribution of Impact Wrestling. That's what I look at. I look at them having to possibly, if the rumors are true that Destination America is going to drop them in the fall, that they look into that streaming avenue to distribute the Impact Wrestling programming. And I look at it this way. You've got a variety of avenues here. And in a sense, it will be more cost efficient in the end. It will be. Because you won't have to rely on doing anything live. Not necessarily. You could still do your pay-per-views or your live events, your special, your big events, if you will. You could still do all those, and streaming service would help out in the long run. Take a look at it this way. Take a look at it this way. Netflix has done some wrestling, has had some wrestling stuff on there, right? Wrestling events, wrestling documentaries. What better avenue for TNA to go than with maybe Netflix? Again, it would be cheaper for them in the long run, possibly, because that way they could still have an area to where they can have Impact Wrestling aired or seen. They can have an avenue to air a lot of their documentaries, which they probably have a huge library worth of, as well as the past pay-per-view events, as well as the future events. Like, let's say you do Slammiversary this year, which you're doing, like I said, on the Flips app. You do Slammiversary this year. You can end up doing Slammiversary, believe it or not. You can end up doing that, on the Flips app if you want to, but then maybe the next day or two, you could have it on Netflix for people to watch, for those that may have not caught it. Then that way people could watch it there. And it wouldn't cost you much. Same thing with Bound for Glory, Destination X, Victory Road, all the events. Your one-night only events. There you go. Perfect avenue. I'm just saying, these are the possibility, that's a strong possibility you should go in. Same with Hulu. You could do the same thing with Hulu Plus. Same thing with Amazon. Honestly, I think these are great avenues to go. You can even do Vimeo. Hell, you can even do Blimp, maybe even YouTube. I mean, heck, you were broadcasting Impact Wrestling on YouTube in Canada. Why not do it again here in the States? Just saying. But again, these are areas I think not Destination America, but TNA, I believe, needs to explore if the rumor